guys? Okay, so how a hard drive works. Basically, we have these platters that move around together. They spin in unison. And there's a head that moves in unison that slides across it. It's easier to show you what it looks like, okay? So all the heads inside of a drive case spin together at one speed, and that's one of the speeds we're going to talk about. The rotation speed of this drive has a lot of impact on how fast we find and transfer data off the drive, okay? So it moves all together, and then in here, this is an actuator arm, are these heads. In fact, it doesn't show a very good picture of it there. All these heads on the actuator arm, and they're on the bottom and top of every single one of these platters, so that it writes to here and to there and to here and to there and to here and to there and to here and to there. Okay? It's not just one disk. There's many disks inside of a hard drive. Okay? And this arm all moves together, and this, all the spindles spin together, all the platters spin together, and this is moving back and forth, collecting data off your drive. Okay? And it's organized. There's another picture of what that looks like. It's organized into tracks and sectors. So on that physical disk, just kind of like think of it as a racetrack, there are lanes, okay, and those are the tracks. And then segmenting out that are sectors, and so data is put in these little chunks here called data sectors around our hard drive. Okay, and they're stored all over the place. Now there's a boot sector at the very front and start of our hard drive that really tells it what all exists in the rest of the hard drive. But it's segmented into all these fragments all over your drive. Okay? And so the faster your hard drive can move around and get to that information, the faster you get it on your screen, or the faster it loads up for you. Okay? When we go and we create a hard drive, we have to decide what kind of file system we want, and there's a couple. There's NTFS, which stands for NTFS. It was Next Technology File System, and there's FAT, and there's FAT32. Okay, all of our machines use the NTFS file system. Okay, but your flash drive might use FAT or FAT32, which allows it to write in a slightly different way. Okay, but it's the way that all those do. Those file systems are how the information is organized on your hard drive. Okay, I'm going to go back. I'm going to add one, and we're going to digress right here. So, one of the things I talked about, it's organized into all those little chunks around your computer, all those sectors around your hard drive, and when you start writing to a hard drive, it writes, the information all together, and then you delete something in there, and then the next time it writes and fills in there and there and there, and then writes there, and then you delete some stuff or you change something, and then it goes and it writes in, use a different color, there and there and there, and over time your hard drive gets what's called fragmented. Okay? Meaning the files are not together. Okay? If they're together, they're called contiguous. Okay? A contiguous file means it's all together. Okay? A fragmented file means it is not. Okay? And this makes a big difference on our computers. If our computer is really fragmented, if we've been running the same computer for 3 years and we have never defragmented our computer, we may see a huge change in speed by defragmenting it. Okay? Your memory, and remember we talked about memory, swaps information back and forth to the hard drive all the time. So even if you aren't doing a lot of this, continually while your computer is running, it's swapping stuff to your hard drive and pulling it, and pushing and pulling it from RAM. So even if you only have saved 5 or 6 systems and 5 or 6 programs or documents, if it's been running, it's been getting fragmented on its own. Okay? And there are programs that allow you to fix that. Okay? And one of them, which is free, that I like a lot, is called Defraggler. Okay? And what Defraggler lets me do, I'm going to look at a different hard drive than I looked at earlier today. It lets me go and analyze a hard drive and see visually how fragmented that hard drive is. How many chunks everything's built up or broken up into, and it lets me see what I can fix easily. So my hard drive is pretty good. It's actually pretty good. My fragmentation is 1%. I run defragmenter every week. Okay. So only some of these are broken up. So if I go to this sector right here, it only has 2 files on it. This one has 3 files on it. Let's see if I can find them. Okay, so this sector has 33 different files on it. All those files exist on this one sector of the hard drive. Okay, and I can also, with this, look at my worst file is broken up into 32 fragments. That's not bad. You might look at your computer and see one's broken into thousands of fragments around your hard drive. Okay, I'll give you a little story. When I was programming for Dayton Power and Light, when I was a student intern my junior and senior year in college, I wrote a program, or helped write a program, called the Time Use Billing System, which bills you at 20% of your regular usage rate for any electricity used from 7 at night to 7 in the morning, to try to make Corey's mom do the laundry after 7, or run your water heater at night, turn it off in the daytime, just trying to push your usage to a different time of the day, because power companies make power all day long. And at nighttime, when you're not using it, they're still making that power. Does it go into a battery? Does it go anywhere? No, it's just lost. Okay? So power made at night is lost. It's gone. There's no magic storage unit or something that power goes into when that power plant's running all night. So if they can get you to use your power at night, excuse me, then they're going to win. Because maybe you're paying for it, but it's free money. Because they were making it and losing it, right? So right now your meter gets read once a month. Ours read your meter every 15 minutes. And then it bills you based on when you use power, not just how much did you use during the course of the month. So there's 3 of us on the programming team that wrote the billing software, and there's this one audio engineer who got paid more than me because her degree said engineer. And all she did was print out the bills that my system wrote, fold them up, and mail them out every day. And when we first put the system in production, she said it took about an hour to print the bills, and then she'd spend the rest of the day getting them together and sending them out. And she called us about a month into the system running and said that she would start them at 8:39 in the morning, and they would be done sometime the next day. So it was taking 20 hours plus to run the same report that took an hour before to run. And what had happened was the drive had gotten so fragmented from all this data coming in every 15 minutes that all we had to do is run defragmenter, and it went back to a 45-minute run to print out all the bills. That's how dramatic fragmentation can cause a problem for your computer. So if you get a program like this and you download it, I could defragment the entire drive just by hitting defragment. I could just go to this one file and just say defragment highlighted. So if you had a game file, say World of Warcraft wasn't running real well, you could go find the game file and just defragment that if you wanted to. And then when it goes to run that game, it's all together. And I gave an analogy first block like this. Okay, let's pretend this is the same PC World magazine. Okay, and I give one copy to Corey, and I say, Corey, there's an article starting on page 27. And then for Haley, I rip out all the article pages and I put them in different places around the room, not in any order. And I say, okay, you both need to read the article, tell me when you're done. Now Corey gets to go 27, 28, 29, 30, I'm done. Whereas Haley has to run over there to read 27, then run over there to read 28, then run back over here to read 29. You get my point. If it's fragmented, it takes the information may still be on the desk, article may still be in the room, but it's going to take you a long time to run around and get it. Okay, so defragmenting solves that problem. And we're going to talk about, oh, no. I didn't want that to close. I wanted to see if, and see if we did a scan of all the computers in the district to see if any of them were overheated, and Cindy's was up to 187 degrees at that time. It's now down to 185 degrees, and I'm going to add 2 more cooling fans in that system here after we're done. Okay, so that's what fragmentation is. Let's finish this section on installing stuff, and then next time we're going to talk more about speeds. So when we install a hard drive, we want to get our drive ready, we want to set the jumpers, we want to mount it in the bay, and lastly we have to go into BIOS to make sure it's on in BIOS. Those computers right there, the GX280s, which you will have in your final exam,
Yeah.
you have to, okay, just make sure, you have to turn on the device's BIOS. You can have it set up completely correctly. If IDE channel 1 is off, it's not going to find the hard drive. You have to turn it on. Some BIOSes just automatically look at every single one and then turn it on if there's something there that makes the computer boot slower. So other ones just say, hey, turn it on if you want it, otherwise I'm not even looking. Okay? So when we go to mount them in the bays, just so you know, these things can be very sharp. A lot of these are just cut and brushed aluminum. I cut my knuckles in there all the time. Be very careful inside when we're putting hard drives in the bay. If we're putting hard drives in the bays, think about where you're putting them. If I've got 3 bays here and I've got 2 drives, don't put them here and here. Okay? Put them here and here. Give them space so they can cool. They generate heat because they're spinning at thousands of revolutions per minute. Check the jumpers. If you need to set jumpers for a PATA drive, set them. The diagram might be on the drive. It might not. If it isn't, you can Google the drive number and try to find it. So you want to make sure you mount the bay in there. Make sure you get it secured so it can't move. Don't put 1 screw on a hard drive. My rule is a minimum of 3. Okay? This side is easily accessible. Putting 2 screws on this side is easy. Okay? This side is not easily accessible. When you go to the back side of a PC, usually there's holes you have to reach through to screw a screw in there. I usually only put 1 on that side. 3 is enough to hold it. 4 is great. Okay, no more than 4. Okay, so make sure you get it screwed in there so it does not move. If it's jiggling around, if this thing's spinning at 5,000 revolutions per minute and it's in there loose and it starts doing this stuff, that's bad. Okay, so you want to make sure hard drives are securely installed inside your PC. Make sure the cable's hooked up right. Make sure you have power connected. Okay, the cable has to be to the hard drive, it has to be to the motherboard, and you have to make sure you have power on the system. Okay? When you look for where you're connecting it, like I already said, use the lowest number if it says primary and secondary in the case of IDE or PATA channels. You want the hard drive on the primary, the CD-ROM on the secondary. If you're using SATA and it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, you want the hard drive on 0 and the CD-ROM on anything else. Can you skip? Sure. You can use 0 and 4. Doesn't matter. Just make sure you got it on the lowest channel. I'm going to delete some of those pictures. If you use a solid-state drive, because solid-state drives only come in 3.5 or 2.5s, then you're going to have to use some kind of mounting rails or adapter like this or like this in order to get your drive. Okay. And I will tell you that vibration doesn't matter as much with this because there are no moving parts. Not that you don't want it secured, but you know, yeah, I can do this all I want to, but it doesn't hurt anything on a solid-state drive. Okay, and then you go into BIOS and make sure it's hooked up in BIOS. I told the first block, and I'll tell you too. If you can find an online interactive BIOS, you'll get 5 bonus points in the next test. Okay, if you can find an online interactive BIOS program for me. In other words, so that I can show you, because there's no way for me to show you BIOS here. I was just thinking first block, there's got to be somebody who's got one for training purposes so that we can talk through BIOS online, and I would love to know where that is. And so I give that to you guys as a bonus opportunity. If you find some way for me to be able to go and show you stuff, that would be great in BIOS. Okay, so you have to make sure you have it set up in BIOS. That's where we stopped with the last class, because we're going to talk about troubleshooting and installation and speeds next class. So that's where we stopped last class. And that's when we were talking about temperatures of hard drives, and that's when I went on the caveat of temperatures. And this software that I was showing them allows me to do a scan, and this is the system temperature, and I can also go and see the hard drive temperature of every single hard drive in the district. So I can see that these two hard drives and these two student computers are running hot, and you can see them progressively cooler. It also tells me whether the hard drive has come back as bad. So this hard drive in this DVR system, which is not ours, is indicating that the hard drive is bad. I really should tell, what's this one? No, that's the library system. I really should tell them that. In fact, I'm going to go to the health thing and see how many hard drives. So 3 hard drives in the district are reported as bad. 2 of them are student computers. It's not that big of a deal. This one, however, this DVR system, I wonder if that's the same one that said it was hot in the system tab. Because there's one that said it was really hot in the system tab as well. It is. It's the same system. System says it's running at 172 degrees, and the hard drive is showing it's a bad hard drive. It's probably been running too hot too long, and it's overheating the system. Let's rescan this one. Okay, so we only have 5 minutes left, and I know I rushed through that a little bit, so I apologize for that. I'm going to go ahead and stop this. If you are so inclined, please feel free to